Don and Scott, the meeting wrapped up early because two trustees, as you mentioned, did not show up. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. Without them, not enough board members were present to make official decisions.
My seat by 82%. Know this, I am gonna come through on a landslide just like Trump did. Know that I will be victorious.
In the quiet town of Dolton, Illinois, the saga of self-proclaimed super mayor Tiffany Henyard has reached a fever pitch, transforming a standard local government role into a spectacle worthy of reality TV. From financial scandals to public outbursts, Henyard has managed to dominate headlines, leaving many residents questioning not just her leadership, but her motives. It's the story of a mayor who has cast herself as the star of her own political drama, with an entire town caught in the crossfire.
Damn subjects, we are your bosses. We are the citizens of Dalton, and you will not continue to treat us like this because you are on the way out.
Tiffany Henyard, who proudly calls herself the super mayor of Dolton, has never shied away from the spotlight. From self-labeling as the people's mayor to making dramatic, unexplained entrances at meetings, she has a flair for turning every moment into a personal showcase. Her latest move, announcing her re-election bid, is no exception, and standing, "I am running for re-election." While the statement exuded confidence, it left many residents questioning if she's out of touch with the reality of her controversial tenure. Instead of generating excitement, her announcement intensified calls for her resignation, with critics wondering how she could seek re-election amid mounting turmoil. Her administration has been plagued by accusations of mismanagement, public dissatisfaction, and a growing belief that her focus is more on self-promotion than effective governance. Despite the scrutiny, Henyard remains undeterred, portraying herself as a determined leader worthy of a second term. But Dolton's residents seem to see it differently. Social media and community discussions reveal a rising tide of frustration, with some calling her re-election bid audacious at best and delusional at worst. The stark divide between Henyard's self-assured public persona and the public's growing discontent raises questions about her leadership style and the broader challenges Dolton faces. Her re-election campaign now unfolds as a tale of a leader steadfast in her vision, but increasingly isolated from the community she serves, leaving Dolton's future clouded with uncertainty.
Prevented Supervisor Tiffany Henyard from filing a vacancy on the board. So what is going on and why the power
To understand why Tiffany Henyard's time in office has become so controversial, one must start with the staggering financial turmoil that has unfolded under her leadership. When Henyard took office, Dolton had a healthy general fund balance of over $5 million. Fast forward a few years, and the town is now grappling with a deficit of more than $3 million. A shocking reversal that has left residents demanding answers. Millions of taxpayer dollars have seemingly vanished, leaving the community questioning her fiscal management. The situation escalated when former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was hired to investigate Dolton's finances, uncovering a troubling pattern of questionable spending that only fueled public outrage. One of the most jaw-dropping revelations was a single-day spending spree on Amazon totaling over $40,000, a figure that defies logic for many. What was purchased with such a large sum remains a mystery, as transparency regarding the expenditures has been sorely lacking. This financial chaos has become a defining element of Henyard's tenure, raising serious concerns about her ability to manage the town's resources effectively. Tiffany Henyard's handling of Dolton's finances has become a lightning rod for criticism, with her lack of transparency fueling accusations that she treats the town's budget like a personal shopping account rather than a public resource. The now infamous $40,000 Amazon spending spree, paired with other questionable financial decisions, has become a symbol of her administration's alleged disregard for fiscal responsibility. Critics argue that her leadership has driven the town into financial turmoil, with a once healthy surplus of over $5 million now replaced by a deficit exceeding $3 million. This financial backslide has left Dolton's residents to shoulder the burden of mismanagement, all while demanding answers that have yet to come. As the town struggles to recover from its fiscal woes, the scrutiny on Henyard's administration intensifies, with many questioning how such large sums could be spent with so little to show for it. The controversy surrounding her financial stewardship highlights the growing divide between her public persona as a super mayor and the harsh realities of her governance. Critics claim her priorities are alarmingly misaligned with the well-being of the town she was elected to serve, casting doubt on her ability to lead Dalton towards stability.
Pay me what you owe me.
An audit of Dalton's finances has revealed a troubling pattern of high-value charges on the village's credit cards, many of which were made without proper documentation or approval. From retail store purchases to unexplained administrative expenses, the spending appeared to spiral out of control with little to no oversight in place. This lack of accountability has sparked outrage among residents who are demanding answers about where their tax dollars are going. "It's not going to fix our roads or improve our schools," one frustrated resident declared during a fiery village meeting. Another added, "It's like she thinks she's running her own business instead of serving the people." The community's anger is palpable, and their concerns are valid as they continue to grapple with the consequences of questionable financial stewardship under Henyard's leadership. Tiffany Henyard's administration has plunged Dalton into financial chaos, and public services are bearing the brunt of it. Vendors have started refusing to fulfill orders due to the village's inability to pay its bills, leading to embarrassing shortages of even basic supplies like paper and ink in the village office. Residents are left baffled by how such widespread mismanagement could occur, especially as critical services continue to suffer. The town's growing financial instability has raised serious questions about the leadership's ability to manage public resources effectively and meet the needs of the community. As Dalton's financial situation continues to deteriorate, the town's streets remain in disrepair, schools lack necessary resources, and the community sees no tangible benefits from the lavish spending patterns uncovered in the audit. Critics argue that this financial mismanagement is a clear reflection of Tiffany Henyard's tenure, a leader seemingly more focused on unchecked spending than on addressing the needs of the people she was elected to serve. The lack of transparency and accountability has led to accusations that Henyard views Dalton's budget as a personal fund, rather than a collective resource meant to improve residents' lives. As Dalton grapples with the fallout from this fiscal crisis, trust in local leadership continues to erode, leaving the village not only financially crippled but also struggling to restore faith in its governance. This crisis has become a cautionary tale of the devastating impact poor leadership can have on a community, with Dalton's residents now bearing the brunt of the consequences.
Urban leaders spent the last few days handing out free turkeys ahead of Thanksgiving. But in Thornton Township, the trustees say embattled supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
If you thought Tiffany Henyard's financial controversies were alarming, her leadership style paints an even grimmer picture. Imagine a mayor who strolls into meetings late, dismisses legitimate concerns, and turns public forums into contentious spectacles filled with sharp exchanges and polarizing rhetoric. That's the essence of Henyard's approach to governance. At a recent board meeting, for instance, residents were left waiting over 30 minutes for her to arrive, with some openly mocking her tardiness. "We just sacrificed 32 minutes for someone who doesn't care about our time," one resident remarked, earning applause from the crowd. But when Henyard finally showed up, she didn't offer an apology or acknowledgement of her delay. Instead of acknowledging her tardiness, Tiffany Henyard lashed out at her critics, labeling them disrespectful and even accusing them of being obsessed with her. "A lot of you come to this meeting talking about nothing," she said dismissively, adding, "You're talking about Tiffany Henyard. That means you're fans," a comment dripping with condescension that left many in the room stunned. This further highlighted her dismissive attitude toward her constituents. Her pattern of behavior has alienated residents, who feel not only ignored but also mocked by a leader more focused on defending her image than addressing the community's issues. The stark disconnect between Henyard and the people she serves has turned board meetings into battlegrounds of frustration, where citizens voice their grievances only to be met with deflection and disdain. Critics argue that her tendency to prioritize her ego over effective leadership has created a toxic atmosphere in local governance, replacing meaningful dialogue with grandstanding and confrontation. As Dalton continues to struggle with financial woes and deteriorating public services, Henyard's leadership style has only fueled disillusionment and mistrust among residents, leaving the community to question whether she is truly committed to serving their best interests or simply her own.
Your scheduled board meetings. I don't care if you agree or disagree, but you must show up to say yes or no, or vote present.
This combative approach has alienated not only residents, but also members of the village board. Trustees have accused Tiffany Henyard of bypassing protocol and making unilateral decisions without consulting anyone. One of the most controversial examples was her recent appointment of Ronald Burge as Dalton's new police chief. The move sparked immediate backlash as Burge's state certification had expired, making him ineligible to serve. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board even sent a letter declaring Burge unfit for the position, yet Henyard went ahead with the appointment anyway. This incident led to a legal battle, further deepening the dysfunction within her administration. Trustees have described her leadership as chaotic and self-serving, with one even refusing compensation from the village in protest. Henyard's controversies aren't just limited to financial mismanagement and personal drama. Her leadership has also sparked allegations of retaliatory tactics against those who oppose her. Several reports suggest that she has used her influence over local law enforcement to target critics, further exacerbating tensions in the community. Political adversaries, including former Dalton Police Chief Robert Collins, who was fired without board approval, have accused Tiffany Henyard of directing him to harass individuals she labeled as enemies. Collins filed a lawsuit alleging that Henyard used her power to target her political opponents. Trustees have echoed these claims, with one trustee accusing Henyard of ordering police officers to follow her around town and issue tickets as a manipulation tactic. The dysfunction is further compounded by Henyard's strained relationship with township trustees, which has paralyzed the township's operations, leaving key agenda items unresolved. Recently, trustees Christopher Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle boycotted a critical meeting due to concerns over transparency and unvetted agenda items. Their absence prevented a quorum, halting efforts to appoint a new board member to fill a vacancy. Gonzalez argued that the appointment process should involve the community, not just the board, stating, "We're not going to be part of the surface. We just want to get some responsible adults, communicate, and try to do the right thing by the citizens."
Usually Thornton Township has this turkey giveaway, so it isn't anything new, yet some trustees say that Supervisor Henyard, she is using this.
This combative leadership style has alienated not only residents, but also members of the village board. Trustees have accused Henyard of bypassing protocol and making unilateral decisions without consulting anyone. One of the most controversial examples of this was her recent appointment of Ronald Burge as Dalton's new police chief. The decision was met with immediate backlash because Burge's state certification had expired, rendering him ineligible to serve. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board even issued a letter declaring Burge unfit for the position, but Henyard proceeded with the appointment anyway. This incident sparked a legal battle, further deepening the dysfunction within her administration. Trustees have characterized her leadership as chaotic and self-serving, with one trustee even refusing compensation from the village in protest. But Henyard's controversies aren't limited to financial mismanagement and personal drama. Her leadership has also led to allegations of retaliatory tactics against political opponents. According to several reports, Henyard has used her influence over local law enforcement to target her critics and adversaries. Former Dalton Police Chief Robert Collins, who was fired without board approval, claimed in a lawsuit that Henyard directed him to harass individuals she labeled as enemies. Henyard has been accused of directing former Police Chief Robert Collins to harass individuals she labeled as enemies, with trustees corroborating these claims. One trustee alleged that Henyard instructed police officers to follow her around town and issue tickets as a means of manipulation. "If the board doesn't show up, we can't pay bills or handle the business," they remarked. Adding to the turmoil is the ongoing dysfunction within the township's governance. Henyard's frequent clashes with township trustees have paralyzed operations, leaving key agenda items unresolved. Recently, trustees Christopher Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle boycotted a critical meeting, citing concerns over transparency and unvetted agenda items. Their absence prevented a quorum, halting plans to appoint a new board member to fill a vacancy. Gonzalez argued that the appointment process should involve the community, not just the board. "We're not going to be part of the surface," he said, emphasizing the need for responsible adults and better communication to do right by the citizens.
Waiting Mayor Henyard to arrive, we'll give another 5 minutes.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard delayed the meeting with no explanation.
Meanwhile, Henyard's attempts to deflect criticism with feel-good events, such as her Thanksgiving turkey giveaways, have drawn mixed reactions. While some residents appreciated the gesture, others saw it as a blatant distraction from the township's deeper issues. "She's just trying to buy goodwill with turkeys while ignoring the real problems," one resident remarked. Even her critics couldn't deny the scale of the event, with over 3,000 food baskets distributed, but the timing left many skeptical. Trustees accused Henyard of using the giveaway as a way to gloss over her fiscal irresponsibility, calling it a stunt to divert attention from her failures. The giveaways are emblematic of her priorities: optics over substance. One trustee said, "While Henyard seems unfazed by the criticism, the residents of Dalton are far from pleased. At public meetings, they voice their frustrations, calling for her resignation and demanding new leadership. We aren't your subjects. We are your bosses. You will not continue to treat us like this," one resident stated. Another echoed the sentiment, "The clock is ticking. We are going to clean house in 2025. The anger is palpable, and it's not just coming from her critics. Some of her former allies, like trustee Carmen Carlisle, have now turned against her. Carlisle, once Henyard's assistant, now describes herself as a whistleblower, shedding light on what she calls the administration's disorganization and dishonesty. Amid the chaos of Henyard's leadership, there's also the ongoing drama surrounding her personal life. Her landlord recently filed an eviction lawsuit, claiming that Henyard and her boyfriend haven't paid rent since August. The landlord alleges that the couple even changed the locks and garage code to prevent access to the property. While Henyard's lawyer disputes these claims, the lawsuit only adds to the long list of controversies surrounding her. The situation has left many residents questioning how someone earning over $300,000 between her two political roles could fall behind on rent. "She's her own villain," one commenter wrote online, echoing the frustration of many Dalton residents. Tiffany Henyard's leadership of Dalton has been marked by increasing frustration from residents, many of whom are relieved she's not their mayor. At a recent meeting, one resident sarcastically remarked, "We're waiting for Mayor Henyard to arrive. We'll give her another 5 minutes," as the meeting was delayed with no explanation. Despite growing criticism, Henyard remains defiant, launching her re-election campaign with a bold comparison to former President Donald Trump, declaring, "Just like Trump, I'm coming in on a landslide." This claim only adds to the perception that she's out of touch with the reality on the ground, where her approval ratings have plummeted and Dalton's finances are in shambles. Trustee Jason House, one of her most vocal critics, is running for mayor, promising transparency, fiscal responsibility, and a focus on Dalton's real issues. For many residents, House offers a fresh start and a chance to move beyond the chaos of Henyard's tenure. As the 2025 election nears, Dalton's future is uncertain. Will Henyard defy the odds and secure a second term, or will residents say enough is enough? The drama surrounding Henyard's leadership continues to unfold, leaving the question of whether Dalton can afford another 4 years of the super mayor front and center.